Hi everyone. Today I've been working on the doors. So this is our door day today. I'm not going to get it all finished, but I've got more than half of them done. So that's huge relief. So as you remember me saying, well I hope you do, in the last video I had to change those striker plates over on that second bedroom door with the door that led from the, well, we'll call it the old bathroom now, into the toilet. Um, so I did that, but I had a couple of issues. Like I think the house has obviously moved due to the change of seasons, which it does every year, and this door here, the bathroom door, was sort of getting a little jammed between, say, here and about here. It's like it almost bowed out a little bit. So I've got a block of wood and a hammer, gave it a bit of a tap back. And also the striker plate. The striker plate had never been recessed. So I decided to recess the striker plate. I still have to paint it, and but yeah, it's in. At least it's in, and the door seems to open quite nice now. For how long, I don't know, but it seems to be. I don't know if the camera will pick it up. There's light all the way down the door, all the way to the bottom. So that's a good sign. So yeah, that's working. It's working okay. I've got. I think it's a lazy spring. It's a worn spring, lazy spring on this door here, the toilet door. But I've got it working a lot better, because what was happening is you were actually pushing it down, and it wasn't really coming up. You'd sort of have to give it a little bit of a hand. One thing I did notice as well is that, like bedroom 2, this was sticking out just like ever so slightly at the bottom. So I just ran the chisel in there and cleaned that out. So yeah, all the doors will have to be repainted. So I can clean up around all these little areas properly when it comes time to repaint them. But I'm very happy. I'm happier because I knew that this handle was always going sort of on the way out, but it's returning now. It still feels lazy compared to the other handles, but it is returning to its normal spot, and the door is lining up a lot better. Hadn't had any gouging there of the striker plate. There is some wear there, but you do get that from the catch. But it just, I don't know, it just seems to close better now. So that's 2 doors we've done today. Now this slider, cavity slider, it's a bit of a pain in the ass. So I've taken off the these 2 pieces of wood. So we got one that screws in on each side of the door frame to reveal the rollers. Now I've never dealt with these type of rollers before, and it took me a long time to work out how to adjust them. And God knows how you'd ever get the door out if you needed to. I think that's almost an impossible task. I would never ever buy this roller setup if I had to buy a new one. But you remember I got this cavity and this door for $100, so it was a good deal. But I'm yet to adjust it. There seems to be, you probably won't see it, but right here where the rollers are, there's a slight gap underneath the bracket, and there seems to be I would say it's about a 10mm bolt head, and I think you have to turn that to raise and lower the rollers. Now you would think that, that sounds really easy, but there's no room between the top of the door and the door frame to get the goddamn spanner in. So it's sort of, and this side's even worse because you've actually got the return on the bracket on this side, so you're left with even less room on this side. So it has to be accessed from this side. So I think it's going to be a struggle, but I'll work something out. Like there's such a small amount of room up there that I may even have to get a standard spanner and grind it down to make it thinner to get it in there. So for now, I've just left this door. I will get back onto this one shortly, but you can see I've got a bit to adjust there. This one here. This one made me spit the dummy today. It's always been a bit of a troublesome door, and I had this section of the house underpinned in 2015, and lately it has been dropping again. As you can see, I got cracking in the cornice up there. I've noticed some movement in the brickwork in this internal corner here, and yeah, it's the sort of thing you don't really want to see 7 years later after you forked out $58,000 for a handful of underpins around this back room. So yeah, it's not great. So I don't know what happens. I don't know if what happens in here, but I have a heater that I'll run on a cold night in here. There's no heating in this room except for that. But after a while, what happens is the door starts to bow when the temperature in this room changes. I think it could be some sort of atmospheric thing, you know. It'll be cold in the kitchen, warm in here, and like anything, it wants to draw, and it tends to bow the door, and then the door gets caught up on the door jamb, and then it's almost impossible to open. And what was happening is it was starting to leave marks on the door from it catching on the door jamb. So what I did today is I pulled the track off. I got a strip of masonite and put that in behind the track and screwed that home. And what I also did is underneath, the pelmet always used to droop down. The brackets that they supply you aren't very good. They're good enough to clip the back lip of the pelmet in behind it, but then just the sheer weight of it drops it towards the door. So I've put, you won't see it again, but up under each corner I've screwed in some L-shaped brackets to support the pelmet, so the pelmet sits really nice now. I am going to shorten this up. This is another job that I'd never done since day one, so I can actually take a little bit off that, but that's not a job for today because I've already lost my shit today. And yeah, and part of the reason I lost my shit was because when I took that track down, I'd taken the door off. I'd obviously taken the track off, taken the door off, and I was moving the track over to this wall just to get it out of the way so I could then move the door to give me plenty of room to screw that piece of masonite strip on. So as I've grabbed the track and I've turned around, the door's decided to fall on top of me, and the end of the track ended up going through the door. So now I have to repair that. So yeah, I wasn't happy. It went right. It's gone right through, they are a hollow door, but the end of the track did go through the top of that, so I'm not in a good mood at the moment. But the door is moving beautifully now, so if that stays the way it is and doesn't move, I'll test it tonight. I'll put my heater on in here tonight and see how we go, and hopefully we ain't going to get no more bowing. We seem to have a pretty good gap here, very even gap all the way to the bottom, so I'm hoping it doesn't bow that much. There's even clearance here with the handle, so that doesn't even catch. That's not going to catch either. So don't know what that squeak is, but I can live with that. If that's the worst it gets, I can live with that. So yeah, I've got to do this door next. This will be the last one I do for today, and then I'll move on to the front doors. Now the front doors, a little bit more involved. I probably have to remove the whole door. I need to buzz the bottom of the door, and I need to buzz the side of the door, because I've got some catching here at the top, especially at the top. And again, you probably won't see it, guys. Let me put a light on. Okay, here we go. So we've had some sort of heavy catching there of the striker plate over the years, and it's taken all the chrome off. So I started working on this a couple of months ago. So the other cover for the second deadbolt, I've already taken that out, but at the time I ran out of time and I just never got to finish it. So we've got this door to do, and we've got the security door to do. So I've marked everything out. This is like a triple lock door. It's got a locket or catch at the top, a catch down here at the bottom, and it's got a catch here. It seems to close alright, so I don't think I actually need to recess this, which is fantastic. But these two I definitely do, and I have the plates for those. And then this door will get painted as well, along with the windows, because this has got to be black. Again, that was a second hand. I got it second hand, but to buy this particular door brand new was $140. It's not one of the top brands out there, but it's, you know, I've got a pretty solid timber door with double lock and everything, so I wasn't going to go too ballistic and buy something expensive. But this one, I ended up picking this one up for $60. And the guy unscrewed it. Was still on the guy's house when I got there, and he unscrewed it. So and took it off. So yeah, for $60, it was a lot better than paying $130, $140, whatever it said. I think it was $139. So yeah, $60 door. It's perfect. So this is I'm gonna make this the last one out of the lot. You can see there, it's just catching, and I can actually see this frame just flexing a little bit. So I'd say it's catching all along. Probably just down the bottom there might be a little bit of clearance, but the rest of it's all catching. So yeah, I just need to buzz the side of it and yeah, make it nice. Or leave this side and buzz the hinge side. Actually I prefer to buzz the hinge side, come to think of it now, because you can always rebate your hinges a bit more. But when you're talking about lock setups like this is what I'm saying. I'm no good with timber. I'm okay with steel, but timber, You know, I've got to think about things twice before I do them, because I'm no good. But yeah, that if I buzz that, it's going to affect these. And if I push them back in, then this has to go over. And I know I had a lot of trouble trying to install this lock, and I've got it working like perfect now. For a long time I couldn't get the key, I couldn't get this bottom key to actually do that. I don't know why, but anyone that's handy with locks or locksmith will most likely know. But yeah, I got it working now, and I won't touch that. I'll do it from the hinge side, and yeah, and then that way I've got a little bit of room just in case I mess up, you know. So yeah. But guys, on the door situation, I'll leave it here, because you know what I'm going to do, and you know what I've got to do, which is adjust those 10mm bolts up, and that's going to be a job for another day. So there's a bit of chiseling to do there. There's a bit of removal of the door. There's a bit of sanding with the electric sander, and buzz the side of it. And so yeah, this is just going to be a short one, and probably might add it into another video, or I don't know, maybe even upload it just by itself. So till then, cheers. We have a cutout for a window. So yeah, just taking the plasterboard out wasn't a hard job. So yeah, I'm going to start knocking out the two studs and the noggins, and framing out the rest of the wall. I'm going to have a go at taking out this framework today, and obviously nailing it back in where it needs to be nailed back in. So I bought my reciprocating saw in and a hammer, and we'll get started now, and I'll show you where we get to. Okay, I've taken out two noggins so far, so we've just cut through the nails, just gone straight down and cut through the nails, and I've cut through the bottom stud here, the nails here. So the next part I've got to do is this part here. Now, what I'd done is I had measured up the cavity, and I tried to get the window as centered in this wall as possible without moving too many studs. So this was going to be the first stud that we came across, which would basically almost put the window into this wall in a central position. But I have to be careful too, because I've got some telecommunications boxes on the outside of this wall in the garden bed, so I couldn't go that way even if I wanted to. So this stud ended up being a really nice finishing point. It is a little wider here than it is here, but that's the way it goes. Look at this window, for instance. Even if you minus the wardrobe, where the wardrobe used to be, you've still got a large section here, you've got a small section here. That's just the way it works sometimes. And the reason they couldn't go that way is because, no, you won't see it. There's a gas meter out here, where the bed head post is. There's a gas meter there, so they couldn't take the window that way anymore. So I'm happy that this will be where the window is. And so my window is 1255. So basically I measured across 1255, which was here. Which was here. And I allowed a little bit, because you have to leave a little bit of a gap, obviously for packing and stuff like that. But I still need to get the stud in, and I need to get the stud in between here. So our stud is 35mm, if I'm correct. Probably 37 in the old measurement, the old imperial measurement, but we'll say 35. So I've got to come back 35 here. So as you can see, it looks like I need to take a little bit more plasterboard out, but that's only to get the stud in. Or it's not actually even to get the stud in, it's to cut this noggin, because I can slide the stud in from the side, because obviously there's nothing obstructing here, and I can cut this piece of strapping, reinforcement steel strapping back without taking any plaster out. But the problem is I can't really cut through the noggin. One thing I was thinking about was just making a small incision in the wall here, just enough to pass the blade through, and then put the blade through the wall, cut the noggin, and then do it that way. So that might be an option. I did start cutting the plasterboard here, but then I stopped when I sort of looked down and thought, hey, what if I can put the blade through here? So there's more than one option to doing this. I just don't know which one's going to work better. So yeah, we'll just I'm going to try this one now and see how we go there, and yeah, we'll pick up on the vid once I've made a decision. Okay, one of the issues I've come across trying to remove this stud, and it'll be the same when I remove this stud, is we've got our brick ties which have been nailed to these studs. So I've got to try and pry the you can see the remnants of one there. I've got to try and pry them away from the stud, and I've got to go basically all the way up the wall, well, at least to here, and I think there's one there as well. So one here, yeah, there's that one. There'll be one here, and there could be possibly one at the bottom there too. So I've got a few of those to remove. Try and use the good old pry bar to get in behind them and pry the nails out. But that's just the way it goes. Okay, as you can see, I've removed the stud from here. I use that technique of that I thought of afterwards, just cutting through the plaster, because it's going to be a lot easier just to clean that up rather than replace a whole piece above the window. So that's what I've done. I've cut through the stud there, and this one I have to do the same. I've got to go in through there. So I just made a small incision with the Stanley knife, and just allows me enough to get the blade in. I've still got to cut the nails off down here, but as you can see, with having cut that plasterboard back, I didn't do any of this. You can see why now. Like, I've still got it. If I want to put it back in, I'm quite lucky. The cornice will cover a lot of it. So, not the cornice, the architrave. But I think the architrave's wider than that cut anyway. But I'll need that for support, most likely. So that can go back in. That's no biggie. We'll keep that. Keep your scrap. And I should be able to run this one now. Once I cut it, I'll cut it down, and that'll go in there. Okay, I'm about ready to start nailing everything home now. So I'll get this top plate nailed in first in the 3 positions. I'll slide this one back out, put the nail gun into the cavity, nail the end of it to the stud here, then I'll put this one back in and then nail this home. Okay, job's finished. So as I said, you know, I was going to nail up through the top of here, which I did. Nailed up here. I made sure I put 3 in there just to be on the safe side. Nailed through onto this stud, put 4 in there just to be on the safe side, because I can't nail it from the other side. 3 in up here. I'm going to put 2 in here, 2 down the bottom there. I've left enough room that I can pack the window out should I need to move it slightly to align it with the brickwork. But I did cut the brickwork out, and I found that the brick sits back probably about 5 or 10 mil behind this stud. But I do, if I remember rightly, the aluminium trim actually goes around the corner of the stud, so it should line up perfectly with the brickwork on this side. This side I haven't bothered checking out yet. I guess we'll get to do all that when I start pulling bricks out, but that's not going to be for, don't know yet. Got to check the weather, because the weather hasn't been very kind to us. It's not a bad day today. It's a little overcast out there, but it's warm. It's really humid and warm, but no rain, which is great. So that's done. That's ready to take a window. So that's one less job I've got to worry about now. There's a bit of trimming back here to do, obviously, on the plasterboard, because although my measurement was 1255, I've actually taken it out to 1270 now. So that will give me 7.5 millimeters each side for adjustment, which is only a couple of pieces of masonite. So yeah, always good to have a little bit of adjustment, just in case your window frame's not square or something like that. So I've allowed for that, and it's all good. The power cable now is down below this bottom plate and between the brickwork. So I smashed out all the brickies mortar that was all sitting in the bottom of here, and we've got a nice little channel for the cable to run in now. So that's not going to get in the way. And that's about it, guys. That's about it for now. I'm not going to trim any of the other plaster work up. I've got a little bit of overhang here. This is probably going to need, actually this one will be fine. This one's fine. So that can stay. That will need a slight trim. This one's probably fine here, but the bottom half will need a trim. But we'll work all that out when the window goes in and see what we can keep and what we can't keep.